Welcome back to Fire Gaming Project. So in this short video, I'll be doing a quick discussion about the Freedom Sworn sword, which is Kazuha's signature weapon and is currently available on the weapon banner for 2.8 Phase 1. So let's get to it. I'll be talking about this in line with comparing it to all the other available swords in the game. And this is following my series of discussing 5-star weapons. And it's not specifically about Kazuha, but it's just in general about who it's good for, the weapon, and if it's a must pull or not, etc. And I recently just did one for The Lost Prayer. If you are interested, please check that out. It's following in line with my previous ones about Memory of Dust, Redhorn Stone Thresher, Haran, and all those. So moving forward, I'll be continuing to do this type of video where we'll be discussing the new 5-star weapons. I also did the review for Heizo, so check that out, and an updated review for Kazuha, so check that out as well. Alright, so let's get to it. So we're going to bring up the weapon menu and Freedom Sworn. So I'm not going to read that long passive description there, but basically, this weapon is an Elemental Mastery substat. Obviously, it's Kazuha's signature sword. Arguably, it does not match his aesthetic. It's blue. It's also a Mondstadt series sword. It's not a katana in Inazuma style in any way. So I always kept saying that they should definitely release a 5-star katana weapon for him. Now, we do have the Kazuha quest now. I haven't done it yet, but there is an R1 weapon available there called the Curse Blade. I don't recommend building it. It's not going to be great for Kazuha. It can work for Kazuha, but it's not going to be his best in any way, shape, or form. It will look good on him, that's all. So it's unfortunate that they didn't make a 5-star version for him. Nonetheless, I digress. So the passive for this is basically you'll have the Millennium Movement thing where you're going to increase damage. Also, you'll gain like stacks, basically sigils, right? And then eventually, once all the sigils are used, you're going to increase your normal charge and plunging damage and your attack output. So it's overall pretty good, but because it's an Elemental Mastery build, substat sword, this will help with an Elemental Mastery build Kazuha for sure. I recently rebuilt him in my review with Elemental Mastery as the focus instead of a crit build or damage build or a hybrid build. So I definitely redid it for the purpose of the video, but also because I was curious to see, and I'm happy with the results. So check that out for more details there. We'll bring up the weapon menu here. So there are a variety of swords that already exist in the game. I pretty much have them all, I think. I don't think that I'm missing any swords, including 5 stars. Sometimes for the other ones, when I discuss weapons, I might miss a few because I don't own them, but I think I have all the ones up to date as of 2.8. So let's get started. This weapon is most comparable to the free 4-star craftable ironsting. I don't have all the refines for this. The reason why is I only recently refined this to R1 with one billet that I got like a couple of weeks ago. That's it. And then previous to this, it was not a priority for me because I wasn't building him with Elemental Mastery. That's why. And also because I did get the Freedom Sworn for him, not during the current banner, but before I got it as a rated up weapon way back as a rerun. So not when it was first launched, but as a rerun when it was paired with some other weapon. I forgot which one, but I got it and I was super happy that I did because I love my boy Kazuha. So this is most comparable, and arguably you can just do well if you're doing an EM build for him with this weapon. You'll be fine. Okay. Other weapons for Kazuha, and I discussed this in the review, is that Sacrificial Sword is surprisingly a really good weapon for him, especially for an EM and ER build, because then it will allow him to proc his burst more often and therefore allow more swirls and more of that support damage, which is really good and allows him to do his elemental skill twice more frequently. So this is really useful, especially for pulling in enemies. So that's very useful. Another option for Kazuha would be, of course, the Favonius, since we're talking about energy recharge. This is also a really good weapon as a placeholder for majority of characters, basically. But yeah, I would say these are the best weapons for him if you're going to be more free to play or low spend and you're not going to go for the Freedom Sworn. I want to make it clear that the Freedom Sworn is not a must pull because currently in the game, he is the only character that is a sword user that really benefits from an Elemental Mastery build, okay? Arguably, though, some people have said that Kuki Shinobu could do well with a Freedom Sworn, but let's be real here. Let's be really real. Who's going to give a 5-star weapon to Kuki Shinobu, who is a half-baked 4-star character? Let's be real. Don't do that. Right? So yeah. So with that being said, no one else would be better use would have better use for the Freedom Sword. Arguably, you could make a case for it on other characters, like other 5-star characters, like Kaching, maybe if you want to build them that way, right? Or maybe Kaeya, 4-star characters. But again, not necessary. So hence, this is not a necessary weapon. Having said that, how else does it stack up with the other energy recharge? This one is a 1.2 event weapon. Not many newer players will have this, but this is an amazing sword for elemental skill and for crit rate. This is more of a hybrid build, but definitely for his skill and energy recharge, and you can get his burst up more often. This is an amazing weapon, by the way. It looks kind of cool on him too. But again, not many newer players will have this, so I don't think that it's something that we can go backward and get. So unfortunately, yeah. But this is a good build for him, and I did try it out on him before too, and I didn't mind it. Other weapons that I did try out on him for 4 stars are the Black Sword from the Battle Pass. Again, you have to pay for this, so it's not everyone can have access to this. But this is for a crit build, of course, and a damage build, so or a hybrid build. And similarly, the Black Cliff. This one actually looks really good for him, but it's not a katana, unfortunately. But the color scheme looks really good for him. And I did use this originally as well, and that was part of my hybrid crit damage, crit rate attack focus build, and this is okay. And unfortunately, though, with this, it is a stat stick and it's a placeholder only, but the passive is not sustainable because you have to kill lots of enemies or several enemies in order to get it up. And if you're fighting a boss or a tankier one solo enemy, you're not going to get any stacks. So that's the only downfall of this weapon, but otherwise it's a good stat stick and it does look good on him. Other weapons are more niche weapons, would be like Lion's Roar, which I would say is definitely not comparable in any way because it's very limiting. But I would say this is an okay weapon to keep for certain characters like Kaching, etc. Or even other future Pyro Sword users, because I don't think we have any Pyro Sword users exactly, so you never know, right? But yeah, I would say these weapons, like Black Cliff and Black Sword, are really good universal crit rate and crit damage weapons to have on your roster for other characters at any time, and they're definitely good placeholders moving in and out. In terms of comparisons to the Freedom Sworn, really it's on its own wavelength. Only comparable is Ironsting, and then next group would be, of course, Sacrificial and Favonius, and again, it's still not even a must pull. Okay, and if we're not focusing only on Kazuha, then if we focus on the other characters, like of course, like Haran is there, Mistsplitter is there, right? But these are very niche, and Kazuha can't really fully utilize all of their passives fully. Mistsplitter, unless you have a C6 Kazuha, you won't be able to get all the stacks for the passive on the Mistsplitter. I won't go into the details here. I did talk about that in my Mistsplitter video, so check that out. Haran, again, it's not really for him. It can work on him, but if you have the Haran and you have Ayato, then maybe it's better for Ayato, obviously, right? So, I mean, it goes back to if it's worth it or not. And realistically, the normal attacks isn't really part of his thing. You're not going to really use Kazuha's normal attacks, so hence it's not really for him. Right? Jade Cutter arguably also looks really good on him. It's not a katana, it's a Chinese style sword from Li Yue, and it is a nice sword too. It's a universal weapon like Staff of Homa, sorry. And because it's an HP increase and it's easy, right? There's no stack building or anything like that, right? It's not going to be his best, but it's good for if you have a crit rate or hybrid build for him. But I put it on my Jean and I love it on Jean. So, this is a great weapon. This is universal as well. And then, of course, this is not universal. Cinnabar is specifically only for Albedo. And for Kaching, Aquila is a very niche weapon. It's for physical damage. Not all the sword users are physical damage heavy. Kaching being one of the ones that can be electro and physical. Some of the other characters, and you could put this on Jean. I put this on Jean before too, and it's not a bad weapon to have. And then, in fact, I have a second one, which I don't have a user for yet, and I haven't decided if I want to refine it or not yet, because I don't even use my Kaching. And then Skyward Blade is also an energy recharge heavy weapon. This could do well too, especially if you want to build up him as a burst DPS or for support purposes, because his burst stays on the field for quite some time, and you can swap him out and proc reactions with it. So this is not bad, okay? And of course, you have the movement speed, the crit rate increase, and the normal and charge attack bonus as well. So this is not bad for him. Don't sleep on this. I know some people don't like this, but it is not a bad weapon. Amenoma is also a pretty good weapon. The passive basically is like an elemental skill plus energy recharge passive, and the attack percentage is actually really okay too, because Anemo can take advantage of that. This weapon is very universal and it looks good on him as well. Again, we're not focusing specifically on Kazuha for this video. It's about the Freedom Sworn itself, but Freedom Sworn really is just going to be his weapon, right? So that's why I keep coming back to him about it, but then realistically, it's not really going to be that suitable for most other characters. I mean, arguably, some people have put Freedom Sworn on Jean as well, because she's also Anemo. That's okay, but again, you wouldn't be polling for a Freedom Sworn, let's be real, for any other character other than Kazuha, right? So yeah, it's unfortunately not as universal as the other 5-star weapons. For example, Lost Prayer, I just did the video for that. That one's more universal. Memory of Dust previously was more universal, right? So there's many more characters I can talk about there that could utilize it. Unfortunately, the Freedom Sworn is not. And then just to round out this video and to wrap it up, so basically Prototype is a nice physical damage. This is like a craftable version of Aquila, so not recommended for Kazuha, but good for like physical damage or potentially physical damage characters, such as, like I said, Kaching. And then the Flute is not a great weapon, but this Flute is actually equivalent. Similarly, the passive is equivalent to the R1 Cursed Blade, which is Kazuha's event weapon, story weapon. And this is not a great weapon, but it's a good free-to-play early on weapon, a placeholder, if you will. I just left it on Chi-Chi. I don't have any other weapon for her, so I just left it on her. She could do well with other weapons, but I got her early on, and I got this weapon early on, and then I ended up not foddering it. I did use it briefly on Jean as well, but eventually it got replaced, of course. So this is not a horrible weapon, but it's not going to be a great weapon. Just like his Cursed Blade at R1 is not going to be a great weapon either, but that could be, having said that, that could work on maybe Jean, could work maybe on Ayato, but not very many other players really can fully utilize it. Maybe you can put it on Kaeya, I don't know. So yeah, Sacrificial, again, I said it's good for Kazuha, but it's also the best for Xingqiu, so keep that in mind because you want to get his elemental skill up as often as possible. We talked about the Alliance Roar already. Kuki Shinobu, I ended up giving her the Favonius, as you can see, because she just needs the energy, and realistically, she has no other swords that are really that suitable. I considered giving her the Festering Desire, but realistically, her skill is just for healing, so it's not really for the damage. I mean, there's damage too, but it's not really that big of a deal, so I decided just to give her Favonius. It's a great placeholder. Yeah, and that rounds out all the swords that are currently available. Hopefully you found this informative, and do check out my other videos. And yeah, I would just say, once again, just to summarize, Freedom Sworn is not a must-pull. Try your luck on it on the weapon banner, but don't go too hard and heavy. Know the risk of the weapon banner. It's I was lucky and I got it, but again, it's not the best. If you get this weapon, definitely it's going to go on Kazuha. Hopefully you have Kazuha. If not, then put this weapon on Jean, perhaps. On any other character that you need more reactions from. I wouldn't even say that many of the other characters can really fully utilize it. You might get away with it on an Ayato, maybe. Characters that can create reactions, basically. I would not say that Ayaka can consistently create reactions, so I wouldn't say that. Maybe Kaching, maybe Traveler. No one really uses Traveler, but maybe Traveler. It wouldn't be for Albedo. It would not be for Bennett, but you could consider that for him, but he has better reasons to get energy recharge because you want his ult up all the time. Maybe Kaeya could do well with it. Again, you wouldn't be getting this 5-star weapon for other characters, let's be real. So yeah, I will leave it there. Hopefully you found this informative, and I will leave it there, and I will see you guys in other videos. In the future, I'll continue doing this type of video where we're talking about 5-star weapons and comparing them to other weapons available in the game. And stay tuned for more from me, and I will hope to see you soon. Thanks, and see you there.